Hello everyone, welcome to another video on the Enchanted Vasim. If you're new here, hi, I'm Jenny. It is very nice to meet you. I like to do videos that are Halloween or witchy oriented, vegan taste test, craft me videos, and chronic illness awareness chats. Shout out to all my fellow spooky spoonies. First of all, your girl is looking very like if Bellatrix Lestrange went like Ice Princess from the 80s and also loved Nightmare Before Christmas. I'm feeling the look. Anyway, so what we're gonna do today, friends, I wanted to just make it a little bit different. Jenny, you prompted me. Yes, there's another Jenny. There's actually a Jen as well. Shout out to all my Jens and Jennies and Jennifers. But Jenny, you gave me an idea for this. I'm gonna share my 10 favorite vegan recipes for the holidays. These are great whether you're doing like a potluck with friends kind of thing, or you know, if maybe you're the only vegan person in your family, these are great ideas for things for you to bring and maybe for them to try. Or if you're cooking for someone that is vegan or vegetarian, some of these are also very gluten-free friendly. So I think it's gonna give you a lot of good ideas whether you got somebody that's got some sort of allergy or food preference. I think it's gonna help you guys. Every single recipe that I mentioned, I will link down in the description. None of these are my recipes. These are just recipes I have found and used over the years and really, really like, and I feel like you guys will enjoy them too. So let's just get into it. All right, so first recipe is gonna be a mulled cider. So for all my pagan and witchy people out there, this is a wassail, in case you're looking for something like that. It's so good and super simple. You can just put this in a crock pot and basically just let it sit for like, I don't know, a long time. It's apple cider essentially with a bunch of other really good spices. So you have like some cinnamon sticks, some star anise, some clove. There's orange in there, and I like to poke the orange with the cloves so that way you don't have cloves just floating about. It's so good. It's so flavorful, and it really gets you warmed up for one, and it gets you into the spirit of the season. You can, if you want to, you know, put a little bourbon, or if you want wine, a little extra something to keep you really warm during the season. That's always an option. Even non-alcoholic, this is super good, and it's honestly one of our favorite and go-tos every single winter. Next things I want to talk about are appetizers. Now these, I only have a few ideas, but these are really great. Again, we did a friendsgiving for our Thanksgiving. We didn't go home and visit my family. We just stayed here in town and had a friendsgiving, and I brought this particular dish, and it was super, it was a hit for sure. So this is a easy vegan spinach artichoke dip. And you guys, so good. This is the first time I had made it, but I'm super pleased. I will 100% be making it again. And my friends I was with, they're not vegan. They sometimes do dairy-free stuff, so that's kind of why they were excited for this. And one of them is gluten-free. And so I tried to do stuff that works for everybody, but this one was a hit with everyone. Highly recommended. It's from Sweet Simple Vegan. So if you're a vegan, you've probably heard of them, especially if you watch a lot of different YouTube videos. I love their stuff, and I saw this on their YouTube, I think must have been a couple months ago, I believe. I think they even did it as a short. But anyway, I will link their blog post that actually has the recipe. It's so good. You have to try it. Next appetizer I want to talk about is from Sarah's Vegan Kitchen. Again, another one of my favorite vegan YouTubers, bloggers. She does some really fun and easy to follow stuff. So if you're not a vegan, I think this is going to be, there's not any usually like crazy different ingredients in her kind of stuff, which I really like. It's very accessible, so I think you're going to enjoy it. I'm going to link the specific video because it has the recipe in the description for that video. Festive snacks for the holidays. She does a vegan cheese log, which I haven't tried, but it looks delicious. But what I do try is, or what I do make is the caramelized onion tarts. They're so good. They wouldn't be gluten-free because you use puff pastry for it, but it's super simple. You like cook the puff pastry, you cook some caramelized onions, and this was good because this is the first time I had ever made caramelized onions, so it really helped me to learn how to do it. But it was super simple. You literally just cook them in a pan super low for like 30 minutes, and they're delicious. I love to make like a batch of caramelized onions now because it takes a little time, but it's so worth it, and we just use that on like tacos or burgers or anything. It's super good, but these tarts are absolutely amazing. I did it a couple years ago for New Year's. I had a friend over, and we made a whole bunch of different little appetizers, and these went over so well. Like Craig, her, and I like ate all of them all night. So it was really, really good. Next thing I want to get into is entrees First one I want to talk about is a stuffed acorn squash. Really, really good, especially if you're wanting to go a little bit more less processed and just whole foods based. This is super good, but it's not going to feel like you're missing out on anything. For my first, I think either Thanksgiving or Christmas as a vegan, this is what I made, and then it was so good for like the next few years. That's what I continue to make. I think especially for Thanksgiving, because it has like that cranberry sauce and that kind of stuff. I don't cook the cranberry sauce. I'm not a cranberry sauce person. Everything else, like I've talked about my Trader Joe's haul, I'm not a kale gal. I try, but I just can't get into the texture of it. But this is one of the recipes that lets me eat it, because you just chop it up super, super fine, and then you cook it, and as it cooks, it gets even smaller. For all you people that struggle to eat veggies, this might be a great recipe. Highly recommend. And this is just a fun recipe that like it makes, like, use the whole acorn squash, and each person can get like a half of an acorn squash. So it's a really easy way to make a good amount of food for other people. The next entree I want to talk about, this is my go-to. I have done this like every Christmas for the past like 4 or 5 years. Vegan lasagna with spinach tofu ricotta. Chef's kiss. Seriously, when I say you need to try this, you need to try this recipe. This is by the Viet Vegan, whom I love her YouTube. She does a lot of really fun stuff, and especially if you're wanting to learn about Vietnamese food and make it vegan, oh my gosh, it's game changer. She has some really, really fun ideas and creative ways to use different ingredients. But anyway, this lasagna is spectacular, and you can easily make it gluten-free. I usually do. I use the Barilla gluten-free lasagna sheets, and they are the no-boil sheets. So literally you can just put it in your casserole dish, layer your sauces, layer your meat, vegan meat, and your vegan cheeses, and it's just so delicious. I've made this several times, especially for like with Craig's family. Whenever we would get together for Christmas, we would do more like a pasta Christmas, so like have several different types of pasta, several different types of sauces. His sister's vegetarian, I'm vegan, and we just wanted different options for everybody. And I would usually make this lasagna as a big thing too, and it was always so good. I even took it over to my parents' house one year for Christmas, and they're meat carnivore people and they actually really liked this too. So I will say, for all my meat eaters out there, I think you're also gonna really enjoy this. The meat in it is Gardein frozen meat crumbles. I just use like the frozen bag you find in the freezer section, and that's super easy to use, and it still has a nice meaty texture. One thing I do add on to this, actually, Kite Hill has come out with a vegan ricotta that is so good. Like, the texture is incredible, and I mix it in with the spinach tofu ricotta, and it just makes it extra decadent. You totally don't have to. This is really good on its own, but I think especially for the holidays, I like to, you know, indulge a little bit. So I think this is a good time to add a little bit extra into it. I also probably use a little bit more of the vegan shreds than she says you need. I think she says like 1 cup. I think I use about a bag and a half, because we just really want it cheesy. And like I said, we don't make this super often, so I want it to be like extra special, extra indulgent, and just get into it. Like, it's all the cheesy goodness that you miss when you're a vegan. Or at least personally, I do miss cheese sometimes, but my digestive system does not agree with it. So that's why I even stopped dairy before I went vegan. Like, a year before I went vegan, I was no dairy because I just couldn't anymore. So anyway, if you're someone who's missing that, maybe you have a dairy allergy, or you're also lactose intolerant, but man, you really want a good cheesy lasagna, holy crap, check this one out. Okay, so now let's get into some of my favorite sides for the holidays. Now, these are things that, if you're a vegan, you know, I tend to make a meal out of sides, because that's usually the easiest way, especially if you're going somewhere else and they're not going to be somebody who's making a big vegan entree. I like to bring lots of different little sides, and it just makes a nice fun meal, and you could share it with others, have them try stuff out. What I'm going to talk about, again, was another huge hit at friendsgiving this year. Vegan mac and cheese. It's crispy baked mac and cheese, for one. From the South, you know, we have to do a little breadcrumb on the top. We got to do a baked mac and cheese. The kind without the crispies is just, it's not mac and cheese. But the thing I really love about it is in the sauce, it uses butternut squash. It's like a roasted butternut squash, and you can scoop it into your blender with like your cashews and nutritional yeast, miso, all these different flavors, and it makes this really creamy cheese sauce that's so good for the pasta. And again, I used gluten-free pasta and I used gluten-free breadcrumbs, so super easy to make this vegan and gluten-free and not feel like you're missing out. I will say, like I said, my friends loved this at Friendsgiving. Even the one who's not gluten-free, he was like, we need this recipe, because I love that you can sneak some vegetables in there. Like, you don't feel like you're eating squash. Like, it feels like super creamy, delicious cheesiness. So this is a winner for me, 100%. I've made it like every Thanksgiving for the past like 4 years. Like, essentially, since I found this recipe, I've made it every year. Oh no, it came out in 2020. Well, you know what? Your girl made it 2020, 2021, and then this year. So every year it has been part of the repertoire. The next side I really like is a farmhouse farro salad. Now this is really good, especially if you're wanting to have like a salad at your gathering or something, because I know, love my people in the South. I grew up there, but we are notorious for having all the vegetables be canned, like canned green beans. Like, nothing is fresh. We don't have fresh food. It's all brown food. Doesn't mean it's not delicious, but there's not as much nutritional content as you can have. So I've brought this salad a lot of times to Thanksgiving dinners for my family, and maybe Craig and I were the only ones who bothered to eat it, but honestly, I'm not mad, because, you know, at least I tried, and it is super good. The farro in it adds some nice protein, and this is the first time I had ever tried farro. It's a really easy grain to cook. If you're needing to do gluten-free, you could totally sub quinoa for this and it works just the same. It says you could do like leaves of kale. I think I did like more just like romaine and spinach, because again, I don't really love kale. Feel free to make substitutions or take things out, you know, change things up as you need and as fits your diet and your preferences. The vinaigrette on it, it's an apple cider Dijon. Yeah, apple cider Dijon vinaigrette, and the sweetener in it is maple syrup. So it's basically like a mustard apple cider mapley vinaigrette, which can sound strange, but oh my gosh, I crave this so often. It's interesting, Trader Joe's, I don't know, I don't think it was in the haul, but the time I went before, I got this maple vinaigrette, and no joke, it literally tastes like the one from this recipe. So I'm about to finish that bottle. I'm probably just gonna make, you know, a triple, quadruple batch of this vinaigrette and just have that in the fridge for me, because it's that good. It's just so bright and refreshing, but it's not too acidic. If you're someone who doesn't like vinegar, I think you'll still like this, because I'm not a big vinegar person either, but I really like it. It just adds the acidity to balance out the sweetness. So definitely try the salad out. I think it's a huge win, and again, a great way to get in a little bit of freshness, a little bit of greens into your meal. My next favorite side is maple cinnamon baked delicata squash. Oh, if you've never had delicata squash, try it. I had never had it until I think 2019 or so. The cafe I worked at, our chef, she was using it for a salad, and I was like, ooh, what's this? And I tried it and I was like, this is so good. Like, it's my favorite squash now. And you can only find it again in the fall, so you may or may not be able to find it right now, but save this recipe so that next fall, oh my gosh, you're gonna want to come back to it. Every time I could find delicata, I get it, and then I make this specific recipe because it's so good. Just the maple, the squash is already kind of sweet, but you do the maple syrup on it and a little bit of cinnamon, a little bit of salt. It's super easy and very simple. Not a lot of ingredients required, and you just bake it and flip it a couple times until it's nice and browned on both sides, and it's great on salads. I've put it on tacos for me personally, but you could also just have this as a side with your meal and you're still gonna be super satisfied and really enjoy it. Okay, I think my last savory thing, this is not so much a side, but something you could use for like mashed potatoes or turkey or whatever. It's a vegan gravy. And when I tell you, this is delicious and easy. I mean, this is delicious and easy. You literally take, I think there's like 5 ingredients. You put them all in a little pot, whisk, bring to a boil, let it like thicken up a little, and then just reduce it. It takes like 20 minutes, maybe, if that. We made a huge batch of it this Thanksgiving, so we used it on the massive batch of mashed potatoes I made, and then we've used it on, like, if you do like a vegan loaf, like a lentil loaf, or if you're doing like gardine or tofurkey or something, or we brought it and our friends could use it on their turkey. So it's super easy, and it is gluten-free as well, I believe, because I think it uses brown rice flour. This is going to be one of the few that has an ingredient you may not, normally keep at home. But if you're someone who does a lot of gluten-free baking or cooking, some of these ingredients I think are super handy to have on hand. Oh, it says all-purpose flour, or you can use brown rice flour for gluten-free. So I typically make it gluten-free. I like it that way. It's just a little bit lighter. Oh my gosh, it's so tasty. So tasty. Okay, so the 10th item I have, this is the chocolate peanut butter mousse pie. I mean, just look at this. It is so good. I made it for Thanksgiving this year, I think Christmas, and maybe Thanksgiving last year. I don't know when the recipe came out. I've made it for at least a couple years now, but it is very, very good. Let me just tell you. And it's not too difficult. I will say this is going to be one of the more like a little bit more labor intensive items, but for being, gluten-free, vegan, like dairy-free, all of that, it's totally worth it for me because you can't find that in the stores. If you find anything vegan, it's just going to be like plainness of the plain chocolate cake or something. This is totally worth the effort to put in it. It does not show on the recipe that it is gluten-free because I think they make their own crust with graham crackers. I actually use the frozen crust from Trader Joe's. It's the one I showed in my haul, and those are gluten-free and vegan already. So all you have to do is just like bake those off, and then you can pour the mix into it, and then it's a no-bake pie. It just has to take time to settle. So all you have to do is melt the chocolate, and then you will need like coconut. It tells you how to do all of this in the recipe. So just make sure and read the blog. They'll give you instructions on it. It's really not too difficult. You just gotta, give yourself time to prep things out, but it's so worth it. Like, I'm gonna make it again for Christmas when I go visit my family. I'm probably gonna make it ahead of time and go ahead and bring it with me because I know they're gonna want to eat it. Okay, so those were my top 10, but I got 2 more bonus items because as a gal who used to be a baker, I just have to give you more sweets options. It's not in me to only do one sweet. And the other 2 things are going to be super simple, not necessarily as labor intensive as the pie. So first one is chocolate covered stuffed dates. If you've never had this, you're going to want to try it because when I heard it, I was like, I don't know, that sounds like healthy. I'm telling you, it does not taste healthy at all. Literally, you take the dates, make sure there's no pit in it, or take the pit out, and you stuff it with like peanut butter, or you could do Nutella. There are vegan versions of Nutella, by the way, just like hazelnut chocolate cream. So look at your store, there's different options. But I've done peanut butter before. I think I've done like the hazelnut butter as well. And then what you do is you take that date that's already stuffed with delicious nut butter, and then you dip it in chocolate. Oh my gosh. And then if you want to get extra fancy, take some like fleur de sel or like the fancy extra coarse salt, sprinkle that on top. It's so good. I've made these before as gifts for people, like made a huge amount of them, and then would do like little baggies of like gifts for people at the cafe. We actually sold this one Christmas. We did like little treat bags. These sold out first out of anything else. So highly recommend these. They're so tasty, and they're the kind of thing you can make a big batch of them and probably keep them in the freezer. And then, when you want to treat, just have one of them. It's good portion control. If you're someone like me that's like, I'll have one next time I go in the kitchen. Oh yes, I'll have one next time I go in the kitchen. Oh yes. By the end of the day, you've eaten 15 friggin' dates. So these are really good. I enjoy them. They're so tasty. They're always a hit for vegans, non-vegan, gluten-free. Anybody is gonna love these, I promise. And they're super easy. This would be a fun thing to do, I think, with kids or friends if you're wanting to have like a little fun baking session. Maybe you do some cookies and you do something like this. They're just a lot of fun to do. And the last one I'm going to tell you about, I actually have not made this yet, so I can't vouch for how good it is, but I'm going to make it this Christmas. My dad is diabetic, so I love all of these sweets, but I know I have to be mindful for him to not like go sugar overload. So I wanted to make something that I knew he could eat too, but it would also still be really delicious. And so I was looking for some like low glycemic type foods, like low carbs, low sugar, that kind of thing. And I found these things that crispy peanut butter balls. You take peanut butter, you mix it with crispy rice cereal, which I think is gluten-free. I'm not 100% sure, but I'll check that. Or they even showed you could mix it with oats if you wanted to instead of that. But I think I'm going to try the crispy rice cereal. Then you also mix them into, you also pour into maple syrup, it looks like. Do them into balls and then dip that in melted chocolate. And then I would probably put some fleur-de-sel on top because, you know, we gotta go fancy. But they look delicious, and the reviews on this were really, really good. I mean, it's peanut butter and chocolate. What is not to like, you know? I feel like all of my desserts were peanut butter and chocolate oriented. So if you were someone with a nut allergy, you can maybe do sunflower butter. That's really good. You could do maybe, but even, yeah, sunflower seed butter is one of the suggestions on this. There's different things you could do to substitute for if you have like a tree allergy or that kind of thing. But this sounds really good, and I'm really hopeful. I'll probably post a picture on my Instagram, so keep an eye out. I'll let you know how it goes, but I think this is gonna be good. All right, friends, so that was my top 10 vegan food dishes for the holidays, plus a little, you know, bonus item or two. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Hope it maybe gave you some ideas if you have someone in your life that either has, you know, a different food preference or food allergy, and you're trying to figure out ideas of what to cook. Hopefully this helped out. Again, all of these recipes will be linked down in the description, so check those out. Definitely also maybe try and give these people a follow on their Instagram, especially Be It Vegan, Sweet Simple Vegan, and Sarah's Vegan Kitchen. Those three are my absolute favorite, and they give a lot of really easy to follow recipes just in general. So if you're wanting for something like maybe you're going vegan or you're newly vegan and you're like, I just need some ideas of how to change things up, or maybe sometimes you get in a rut. I mean, being vegan for a while, sometimes you get where you eat the same thing all the time and you just want to change things up. So check their Instagrams and their YouTubes. I think they're going to give you a lot of really fun ideas, a way to kind of change things up, make it fun for you. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you did, please give it a big ol' thumbs up. Also, if you aren't already, please do consider subscribing to the channel and make sure you hit the bell so you're notified every single time I upload. I try to do 1 to 2 videos a week, so you definitely don't want to miss out. But thank you guys so much. Whether you're one of my patrons, whether you're a subscriber, or whether you're somebody that just dropped by to watch this video, wanted to get some ideas, thank you so much for spending time with me. I really do hope it did inspire you and give you some fun ideas and suggestions of a way to change things up or to make something for a loved one or a friend in your life. I hope you're doing wonderful, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!